Joining us on the line is James O'Keefe, founder and president of Project Veritas. On Tuesday morning, he live streamed the president of CNN, Jeff Zucker's 9 a.m. editorial call, and he says that he has been recording for months these CNN internal calls, and they're going to start releasing clips from the calls today at 7 p.m. Well, James, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me on.
So, first of all, I'm not going to ask how you got access to the calls. I assume you have somebody inside the game over at CNN. Obviously, Jeff Zucker seemed somewhat taken aback when you started talking to him on the conference call. And now CNN is threatening legal action against you. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, the legal action, it's ridiculous. And I think Jeff's just mad and embarrassed, to be threatening me with arrest for reporting on the phone call. But yeah, Ben, we have insider sources inside the organization. And it's the paragon of investigative reporting to have that sort of thing. So it's really ironic for CNN to be threatening me. But definitely, Jeff was shocked to hear me tell him that we've been recording the calls for 2 months, and we've been just releasing those clips last night. We're going to continue to release them day by day.
So let's go through some of the clips that you've been releasing. What were the clips that you released last night for people who missed it?
So there was a clip of a couple different. There was Jeff Zucker himself talking about the need to not normalize the president, to sort of lean into certain things and not cover others. There's a clip where they're talking about how the 9/11, the transition, and they're sort of saying the transition is going to affect national security. They're talking about Tucker Carlson being a white supremacist. That's the general counsel of CNN, saying that Fox News is the white supremacist hour. And generally, there's this ethos of Jeff Zucker, the president of CNN, which is unusual for a media CEO, a media conglomerate CEO, to be directing the narrative, to be telling his reporters what to cover and what not to cover. And as the president of my own organization featuring journalists, they kind of tell me what the story is. I don't really direct them in that particular way. So you sort of see how the sausage is made on these first few clips there at CNN.
Yeah, it is pretty incredible that CNN is still considered an objective news source by so many people when it is very obvious that the editorial take is being driven by the top. There have been rumors that Jeff Zucker is on his way out. Do you think this is going to contribute in any way to Jeff Zucker retiring from CNN, given it's pretty humiliating?
I do. I say that because of the reactions from CNN. I've been doing CNN exposés for years, and this is the first time they've really reacted to it. CNN corporate communications has put out a couple statements, and he actually if you watch the video of me live streaming, they were so taken aback. And it's sort of like the psychological aspect too. Now, I believe that they should be transparent. I don't think they should be ashamed of anything they're saying right there on those calls. But I think that they're shaking in their boots, and just the fact that we have, hundreds of hours of recordings, and we're going to release them a little bit at a time, akin to a December Advent calendar, day by day. I think that's just psychologically traumatizing to Jeff Zucker.
So I'm not asking for you to sort of blow up your release schedule, but what is the kind of general tenor of some of the material that you're looking to release in upcoming days?
There's something coming out today about like Hunter Biden, and Zucker's talking about that and what to cover, what not to cover. I think a lot of this stuff, Ben, is not going to, I don't know if it'll shock people because the chyrons on CNN are already so shocking. I don't think people are going to go, whoa. But I do think it gives an insight. It kind of confirms suspicions about how the sausage is made, how the organization manufactures consent, to quote Noam Chomsky, how they kind of tell people what the narrative is and what the story is, and that's not journalism, in my opinion. So I think it's important work, and hopefully it draws out more whistleblowers inside these companies to come out, like the person who came to me inside CNN.
So you've had a wide variety of whistleblowers at a wide variety of these media companies. Has there been more of an increase in that, given the fact that these companies have become so overtly political as in recent years? They were always political, but they used to at least try to hide it.
Yeah, the whistleblowers is now our new bread and butter at Veritas. We still do undercover work, but undercover work's about access. So people have to be incredibly brave, almost self-sacrificial to do this. They have to basically jump on a grenade in most cases. We saw with the postal workers with the election and the ballots. But Google, Facebook, Twitter, CNN, New York Times, there are people inside these institutions that are so betrayed by what the oath they thought they were taking when they joined those networks. And there are even a few people who reached out to me off the record to tell me that and to kind of praise what we're doing. But it's like the Soviet Union, they can't ever say that to anyone or even publicly.
James O'Keefe, founder and president of Project Veritas. Obviously, every time you drop a tape, the media immediately respond by suggesting that you are selectively editing, and that you're a con artist. This goes all the way back to Acorn, back in our
Right.
salad days when we were both working with Andrew Breitbart. So how do you respond to the allegations that all of this is basically just you taking things out of context and manufacturing narratives?
Well, I would say, name the edit, Ben. You and I worked together 11 years ago, Jerry Brown was attacking me because the Acorn people didn't break the law. But that's not that. Then they do it a non sequitur and say, well, I edited the tapes. Well, name the specific edit. Name the specific thing that we got wrong. Now, I will say I did have to publish a correction, a very rare correction in this story, because I couldn't figure out the name of the people speaking. The person that did in fact brand Tucker Carlson as a white supremacist was CNN's general counsel. I had mislabeled him because I couldn't identify him. But that even makes it worse. The general counsel of the organization is saying that. But no, they can never actually name and edit. All journalism is edited, selectively so. Words are arranged into sentences in articles on newsprint. But video transfixes in a way that words do not. And I think in this climate, we have to have video to illustrate our point. Otherwise, they're just going to call us liars if we use hearsay or secondhand sources.
So, James, what do you think is the proper response of conservatives to the confirmation, obviously, of the overwhelming bias, not only in the media, but also of social media? You've had whistleblowers from various social media companies. It has now become perfectly obvious that social media companies are militarizing on behalf of Democratic narratives, as they did in the Hunter Biden story, to literally shut that thing down 2 weeks out from the election. President Trump, over the past 48 hours, has suggested that he might actually veto a defense authorization bill unless there is some sort of massive change to Section 230. What do you think would be a good solution to the overwhelming tsunami of propaganda put forth by one side of the political aisle here?
Well, I'm very biased towards my own mission here, but generally I would say expose them. You have to. What they fear more than anything else is being exposed. They're masters of psychological projection. They accuse other people of doing the very things that they do. The New York Times did that to me when they attacked me after the Minnesota story, saying I use anonymous sources. That's rich. We always show people's lips moving and you can hear their voices. But Ben, we need to expose them. We need to, and I think there's a psychological issue where some people, even in the conservative movement, they drink from that poison chalice. They want to be liked by the New York Times. They don't want to be hated. And by the way, being hated by these people is not easy. Being viciously and savagely defamed and attacked constantly is not an easy thing to endure, and you don't escape unscathed. So I think there's almost like a psychological thing that conservatives have to do, where they're not afraid to be defamed and attacked unfairly by these organizations. And that's what you have to endure if you want to accomplish the mission, the stated mission of revealing their bias, their malfeasance, their manufacturing consent. You have to be willing to be viciously attacked. Not fun, but I think a worthwhile cause.
Well, James O'Keefe, founder and president of Project Veritas. If you want to help them out, head on over to Project Veritas online. They do accept donations as far as I'm aware. James, really appreciate the time, and thanks for the insight.
Thanks, Ben.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.